Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of the Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I am, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot, and we are doing the most recent episode of the Grandstand about 12 hours late, mostly because of the fact that I was sleeping at almost 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon because I had a weird sleep schedule this last couple of days here. And, really it's Ohio weather getting me down, everything else like that. Um, yeah, just not fun, man. It's just the constant shifting back and forth of cold and heat and everything else like that. So I would have done this last night about 8 or 9, but then of course, NEA and company were doing their stuff then, and then I was on Honda's chat for a couple hours, and then literally just finished up with a back chat with those guys like 15 minutes ago. Not even, actually, I think it was more like 10 minutes ago. Yeah, we were talking in the back chat for like at least 2.5 to 3 hours, I think, about different things and all kinds of crazy shit, dude. What it was, uh, mostly different topics. The latest one was women, but yeah. So basically, for today's episode, we're going to talk about future resource wars. So I noticed there was somebody else recently who was talking about water wars, which is something I've talked about previously when it comes to stuff on this channel, under the old moniker and stuff like that. But yeah, it's something I haven't done in a while now that I've done the OPEN moniker and whatnot. So basically, I believe that we are heading towards a time in history right now where you're definitely going to see wars for resources come about in the next, I would say, anywhere from like 2 to 5 years, more or less. It seems like every day we kind of see the shifting landscape of different crazy shit when it comes to, you know, currently now midterm elections in a couple weeks. But it's like, hey, are we actually going to make it past that and actually have a new, Congress come 2023, et cetera, et cetera? Or is it going to be some other crazy shit? Or are we going to make 2024 kind of thing, et cetera? To even see into the presidency, which honestly, at this point, if I had to, if I had to guesstimate, dude, I don't think we're going to make it to 2024 to see another presidential race at this point, dude. Just because of the fact that, like, you have so much corruption, so much insanity, so much fucking stupidity is what it is within, federal government, even state governments for a lot of the cases that, when you have places like, California, I believe it's California, New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada, all basically run off Lake Mead right now for water sources to keep their power running. Well, not even water resources, just power running. Which, of course, for those who don't know, Lake Mead feeds, I believe it is the Hoover Dam, etc. There, and yeah, it's pretty close right now, just because of droughts and everything else like that, to becoming a dead pool. And if it drops below, I think it's like 3,000 feet or something like that, which is where it's pretty close to being right now, it is not going to be able to do the hydroelectric stuff anymore. So you would have California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, etc., become total dead pools, become complete uninhabitable landscape is what it is, because again, you would have basically 4 desert states is what it is, dude. Not to mention with the Hoover Dam slash Lake Mead thing, you would also have the deal with part of Mexico as well, because there's parts of Mexico right by New Mexico and Arizona and stuff right there that also kind of feed off that area. And whether it be getting water resources from there, whether it be getting power somehow between the border crossing parts of our country and stuff like that to the Mexico side of the border and stuff like that. Yeah, it's going to be a big fucking problem, dude. And I think truthfully, when it comes to, resource wars, I would say water is definitely at the top of the list right now, because when you have, like, yeah, food's a big issue, electricity is a big issue, gas, oil, coal, whatever the case be, all this stuff's big issues as well. But the thing is, you can survive, I think it's like a week or so without food. Technically, you starve to death without food between 30 and 40 days, but you can basically live like a week or so without food before you actually need like calories for real to like replenish yourself with what it is. you can only go about anywhere from like 12 to 24 hours without water before you would die from dehydration, especially in desert heat and stuff like that, dude. Because the thing is, when you're talking about, in these desert states and stuff like that, you're exerting anywhere from like 1 to several gallons of water a day. Even in a state here like Ohio in the summertime and stuff like that, dude, you're still like just sweating and stuff like that. You're still doing away with like a good half gallon to a gallon of water here where I'm at. And that says something right there, for summertime. Obviously in like spring and fall and winter and stuff like that, it's not that much at all. But the thing is with that though, if you go on the opposite side of that, then electricity would be a big thing here, especially in wintertime, because of the fact that, without electricity, you have no heat. And without heat, you basically freeze to death. And I feel like that's where you'd have like kind of like a Cold War going on then, would be, for all these northern states that do experience wintertime, or even like a Colorado kind of place where it'd be like, has like a bad winter and stuff like that, or even like, various parts of California with the mountain landscape there, or, other parts of, Montana, Wyoming, etc. there, different places that would actually experience winters is what it is, and would be, having to deal with that kind of shit. Not to mention, like EMPs and stuff like that. You got to deal with that kind of shit as well. And the big thing people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize this actually. I'm trying to teach a lot more of them about it though. But yeah, people don't realize that our grid right now is not hardened against electromagnetic pulse weaponry, is what it is, dude. Whether it be, somebody shooting a nuclear warhead up into our atmosphere just enough to where it would basically create like a cloud of EMP burst, or whether it be a natural solar flare that would cause that, just literally fucking shit flying off the fucking sun and hitting towards us is what it is then. That could also knock our power grid out and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just not good either way, man. And the thing with that is though, it doesn't really matter if you have like, solar panels or anything else like that at that point, because it would probably fry that shit too, is my guess, honestly, dude. Just because, it would just, if it's going to knock out like pretty much all, like electrical things, like chips and everything else like that, it would probably knock out the solar shit too, is what it is. So, there goes your solar panels, there goes your, wind turbines, all that stuff like that. That's all the so-called green energy and whatnot. And yeah, you'd just be fucked then, is what it is. And the thing is, one thing I think is interesting when you look at a lot of post-apocalyptic films and stuff like that, whether it be, Book of Eli, or I know there's another one that I'm thinking of offhand. I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but it's specifically the whole premise of that movie was like this girl and this guy trying to survive, and they had this setup where it was they were trying to get like a little bit of water every day in like this bottle catch system or whatever it was, and it was just enough to where they could both have a drink of water essentially and keep going. And yeah, it was just fights for water is what it was at that point, dude. And that might have actually been called Water War. I'm not sure. I can't remember offhand, but or something with water in it in the title of it there. But yeah, like it's just crazy shit, dude. And like I said, you have, you know, like even looking back at, George W. Bush's presidency, it was right after that guy left office. One of the first things he did, as far as I'm aware, and I've heard this story many times, and I'm pretty sure I was able to actually clarify that it did happen. He went over to some African nation overseas there, bought up a whole bunch of farmland, and then had them literally create like giant pits to basically make like giant water reserves, is what it was then. And yeah, it's crazy, man. And I think honestly, like you would see a lot of that happening. You would see a lot of that kind of stuff where it would be, you would just have like some person just have like some kind of water reserves or whatever in some country or whatever it is, and you would have people like fighting for it, or like, like I said, the Book of Eli kind of movie, where you would have somebody know like where a actual reservoir was, or like a natural spring or whatever it is, and they would keep that shit under wraps, and then they would basically control the water supply for a town or a couple towns or whatever it is, dude. And you would have kind of a dictator thing there. You'd have kind of like a Negan type of dude in power there. And, you'd have many people that would be underneath them as their underlings and shit like that. Because again, it's like, yeah, you're not gonna, piss the dude off that has the fucking water. You're gonna be some dude that works for him or some chick that works for him or whatever it is, dude, just so you can get a drink every day is what it is. And, until you could coup against that motherfucker, like, you would basically just knuckle under is what it would be then. And I think that would be what leads to a lot of rise of warlords as well, dude. Because, I mean, hell, you look back at, what was it now? 2 summers ago now? Where you had the fucking Chaz become a thing there in Seattle, Washington. And you literally had some dipshitty Antifa kid who was like 18, 19 be the first leader of that place, outed as some fucking abuser or whatever within like a day or two, left a power vacuum open, and then fucking SoundCloud rapper Raz Simone jumps in there with his fucking AK and basically becomes a de facto warlord there. That dude committed like at least 1,000 fucking felonies, dude, during the couple weeks that place existed when he was the leadership of it. And yet, as far as I'm aware, he has never caught charges to this day over that shit, which is just insane to me, dude. And again, it shows multiple things there. Number one, the whole defund the police thing. Number two, the shitty leftist politics of Washington State. And number three, the shitty ass fucking politicians in power in Washington State. And number four, the voter base in Washington State not basically calling for that dude to be brought up on charges, what it is, dude. So, yeah, it's a bunch of fails all the way around on that one. But yeah, needless to say, I think you'd have a lot of things like that. That would be like something like that where you'd have people that would be like, the basically, it might not be the biggest dog in the fight kind of thing, but it would be the guy with the biggest gun in the fight, essentially, what it would be. And maybe have, a small group of people with firearms as well on that one, to where it would be like, okay, you're now under our fucking rule kind of thing. And it would very much fall back to a lot of these African countries right now. You look at how shit's going on over there, dude, where you have, whether it be our government giving money to them and other places like that, And the thing is, like, U.S. government doesn't just give money to those places. It gives money to Central America, etc. And the thing of that is like, you're just feeding the beast is what it is. And the problem is with that whole thing, it's not even that, that aid is actually going to where it needs to be, because it should be going to the people over there that are, starving and stuff like that. But half the time, it's being intercepted by some warlord / dictator person who's like, no, this is our fucking, food supply now, whatever the case be. If you ever watch the movie Black Hawk Down, that was a great example of that, where it was, I believe it was a UN food truck that was being jacked by the warlord guy and stuff like that, with a bunch of dudes with AKs and shit like that. And they're like, yeah, back the fuck up. This is our food now. And to all the villagers and shit. And then, of course, you had the U.S. government guys that were the actual soldiers and shit being like, hey, should we get involved in this? And they're just like, yeah, that's not our problem. And that was the whole thing, dude. And actually, there's a great video out there from some years back now. I think it was Anthony Bourdain. I could be wrong about that one. It was one of those guys. It was either him or it was that dude that did a bunch of weird shit. But basically, I think it was Anthony Bourdain though. I'm pretty sure it was Anthony Bourdain. But yeah, so basically it was he had gone over to some country. It was like some African nation or whatever the case be, and he was like doing his show or something over there and like talking about like, oh yeah, we're gonna eat this local cuisine or whatever it was, and there was like some little food truck thing or whatever he got in some plate of something off of. It was literally like rice and beans or something essentially. And you had all these fucking people, most of them young kids and then some teenagers and stuff like that. They were all just basically watching him eat because, again, they themselves were starving and shit. And it was him talking to the producer people and being like, oh yeah, let's do something nice for these people, and they bought out the fucking food truck is what it was, all the food that was left in it that day. Gave them a bunch of money to, be like, hey, just serve all these people around here that need something to eat is what it is. Which, seems all nice and well and good and everything like that. And again, it seems to be, when you look at that kind of stuff, it almost does sort of fall to the Democrat mentality, because it's like, oh yeah, let's just give everybody something to eat is what it is then. Not realizing like, hey, there's going to be, maybe some weird consequences here. And of course, what was the first things you saw? you saw a bunch of older teenagers and young adult males basically coming up in there and just stealing plates out of small children's hands is what it was, dude. So they themselves could eat then. First and pretty much only is what it was. And that's exactly what it is, dude. And it goes back to that whole, you know, whoever has the biggest stick wins kind of thing in most cases, because again, it was like, you got these fucking 5, 6-year-old, 8-year-old kids that are very malnourished and shit like that. And then you got some asshole who's like 14 to 16, whatever it is, or 20 something, whatever it ends up being then, walking up and being like, no, this is my food now. And it's the same exact thing with all these warlords and dictators over in these countries like that, dude, where it's like, nah, we're going to take this fucking food supply and you're going to not do a damn thing about it because we're armed and you're not, kind of thing is what it is. And I feel like that would happen very much in a lot of those cases as well, because, when you look at like most grid down kind of things, it's always, some small gang or whatever that controls a food supply or a water supply or whatever it is, dude. And unless you have like, an angry mob of people that would be like, nah, fuck that, dude, we're just taking the shit from you by force kind of thing, nothing's ever really going to change there is what it is. And you're either going to deal with those fucking people or you're not going to deal with them at all, dude. And actually, I really wished that when it came to that show Jericho, that there would have been more of that Blackjack Fairgrounds place. Because there was an episode there, it was like, I think 10 or 13, I forget which one it was, the first season, the episode of it, where they went to the fairgrounds. The episode's called Blackjack, and it's basically about how you have everybody that's coming in there surrendering firearms to the guards and having them like tagged and stuff like that for when they leave. And then all the people that are in there that are the actual like kind of overseer guys and stuff like that, it's like them with just like extendable batons and shit that are just trying to keep the peace among everybody. And if anybody tries to, start some shit or whatever the case be, or fighting or whatever, they just get their ass kicked is what it is then. And I feel like that's exactly what happened in a lot of those cases where you just have stuff like that, where it would be, people would be like, no, we're not going to put up with, some asshole trying to fuck people over, whatever the case be. And it's like, no, you're not going to just steal this guy's fucking, crate of watermelons or crate of fucking pears or peaches or whatever it is that they're bringing to the place to deal with and try to make some trade out of, I should say some trade or multiple trades with people for whatever they would need then. And that's the big thing, dude. I think you're going to have that become a thing as well in a lot of those cases, where it would be like, kind of like almost like the house gets a cut kind of thing, where it's like, okay, we're going to give our guards like, 3 of these or whatever, for them to, oversee shit or whatever. And then you can have the rest of it then to trade off or whatever it be then. And it would be something along those lines then. And you'd have like that trading post kind of deal then. And I think there would be a lot of things like that where you would have people that would be like, willing to trade off, like, okay, I'll give you guys like, 1/10 of whatever I'm bringing here for the safety and security that I'm going to be able to make something out of the rest of this and be able to take something back to my home, family, community, whatever it is, to where I could actually come out ahead kind of thing is what it is then. And it all depends though. I think some cases it will be, dog eat dog in some areas of things. And again, it depends on where you're at, when anything would happen then. But I think for the most part, like, yeah, we're definitely looking at a future right now where it becomes resource wars. And like I said, whether it be straight up just water wars or whether it be food wars or, some kind of an energy war where it would be like, coal or some kind of other fuel source, wood even for that matter, would be a big thing. And, it's a whole thing, dude. And like I said, I think truthfully, when it comes to all that stuff, though, I think water is definitely going to be the top of the list because, and honestly, one of the funnier things is I remember watching one of Tim Pool's videos earlier this year. I think is when it was. It was one of, I can't remember if it was one of his streams or if it was one of the like just sections of video from a stream or something. But basically, Tim was talking about the sort of rich elitist mentality and the double standard of California and stuff like that, where you had Newsom and company a few years back now had put some kind of a ban thing on like water use or whatever. And on the one side, it was like a two uh block neighborhood or something like that, where it was like in the one block that was like real nice and like kind of like a gated community area or whatever. You had a bunch of people who were sort of affluent and stuff like that, and very well off is what it was. And they were basically sitting there and giving like zero shits about what's going on there. Still watering their lawns, still doing their laundry, still, taking a shower all on the same day, because of course that's one of the things they limited was like, yeah, you can only do one of these things or whatever at the time. So we actually have water for everybody is what it is. And then meanwhile, it was like next block over, you had like this poor, like basically immigrant area that, may or may not have been illegal aliens, who the fuck knows, who had nothing. They were trying to basically turn their taps on, and there was nothing coming out because you had the assholes a block over, or even a street over for that matter, whatever it was, who were, sucking up all the fucking water. And it was like, yeah, we're not going to, like all the rich people were like, yeah, we're not going to let our fucking grass die out, so let's just put on a fucking big ass sprinkler. And yet, meanwhile, the guy literally like fucking 30 feet from you can't even get a glass of water to drink because your dumbass has your fucking sprinkler outside on, watering a lawn that isn't even going to be fucking green in 2 days because it's going to be fucking totally burned out is what it is, dude. So yeah, it just shows that like insane mentality of just the stupidity of our society in a nutshell, and really just the elitism of, in a lot of cases, leftist voters is what it is, dude. It's the same dumbasses that vote Democrat, fucking down ticket every 2 years or so, especially every 4 years for governors and presidents and stuff like that. And it's going to be a lot of those same people that, if things get worse and go, real dark side and stuff like that, they're going to be the ones that would be hurting entirely, because they're the ones that tend to believe in, oh, let's ban all the guns and only the fucking government and the cops should have guns and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, and then you wonder like why you're going to have some authoritarian state that's basically going to, shove their fucking boot on your neck and their dick up your ass. And it's not that hard to figure out, dude. It's like, I don't know about the rest of y'all, man, but fuck that. I'm not letting that come to my ass is what it is, dude. I've already had the invisible, is what I call it, government dick up my ass for the last, 5 years of my life, basically, especially 3 years ago when I was federally swatted and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, it's not fun, dude. It's really not fun. And it's a whole situation where it's like, it doesn't really need to be a thing is what it is, dude. If you actually had people that cared about their community and stake, downtown Colorado and stuff like that, to where now there's an article that came out a couple days ago that was talking about Colorado now, even though they have a bunch of water coming from sorry, I just realized my thing was what you call it again. I wasn't sure it was roboting or not even being able to hold it all. But anyway, as I was saying, there's an article that came out a couple days ago about Colorado that was even though they have a bunch of water that comes down from their mountains and stuff like that with all the snowpack and shit, they have all these treaties with places like California or Arizona or whatever the case be, where they can only have like X amount of water there. And so now you have a new thing happening where they're going to recycle wastewater to become drinking water again in Colorado. And it's like, that's just fucking retarded, dude. Like, that is the dumbest shit ever. It's like, hey, if you got fucking piece of shit Newsom over here that's literally, and thing with Gavin Newsom's insanity over there in California, dude, is they have the exact same thing there in California, where they have the ability for snowpacks every year from the same mountain pass that the Donner Party went through and stuff like that, and all pretty much died there. And it's like, you could easily have that flow down, go into a reservoir thing, and become sustainable water. But what does this dumb motherfucker do? No, let's just toss all this clean water out into the fucking ocean, and how it becomes some brackish bullshit then. And it's like, that's the dumbest fucking thing ever, dude. And again, and then they wonder like why they're running out of water and shit like that. And it's like, it's not that hard to figure out, dude. It's because you have a fucking retarded ass fucking pedophile piece of shit in Gavin Newsom, who is the governor there, who is doing everything he possibly can to fuck us over for fucking China and everything else like that, dude. And they're not just tossing him out of fucking office. Honestly, the best thing that could happen right now in the next couple of weeks is there is a state senator who's running for the Republican to flip California red again, basically, as a Republican there. Best thing that could happen is that guy wins the fucking election, dude, and is able to finally flip California back to red now. And the same thing happens to their General Assembly as well, where you just have a whole bunch of people flip a bunch of blue seats red there. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's a possibility and stuff like that. You never know, man. But again, that's about the only thing that could save that fucking state at this point, man. It'd be a total overhaul by brand new people, basically, is what it would be then. But yeah, the whole thing with Newsom and company is, though, it's like, yeah, you just have a bunch of idiocy upon idiocy, and then it's like, and you guys wonder why we're leading towards this possible future of resource wars, whether it be water, food, medicine, coal, oil, whatever the case be, dude. Doesn't really matter. Gasoline as well will be another one. And the thing of that is, it's like, it kind of goes back to even, talking about post-apocalyptic stuff there. There was an entire season or so of the Fear the Walking Dead series where it was just them in a fucking oil field showing how they produce like gas and stuff like that. And it was literally had a bunch of communities there making deals with other people and being like, okay, cool, we'll refine you, X amount of gallons of gas here. And, what do you got for us kind of thing is what it is then. And I think that's, again, how things would happen as well, dude, where it'd be like sort of like a barter trade system there where it's like, yeah, we're not going to let you know where our oil field is or where we're refining this gas at or whatever it is, dude. It's like we just have this, 50 gallons of diesel that you need. Like, what are you going to give us for it kind of thing is what it is, dude. And I think you would have a lot of things like that, dude. And now, granted, some of them would be, done peacefully, or it would be people doing like, oh, I got a fucking dude behind me, someplace behind me here that's got a rifle pointed at your head, and the other guy on the other side's like, well, I got the same thing on my side, where it's some chick on my side, someplace over here has a fucking rifle pointed at your head kind of thing. And that's how you would do deals, I think, in a lot of cases in grid down shit for at least the first go around when people are starting to make like actual deals before you finally get to know people and shit like that. And then you're like, okay, we've done, 6, 8, 10 deals now, whatever it is. It's like, pretty sure we can just put the guns down and just, deal with each other like men or women or whatever it is, dude. And, if it's a dude dealing with a chick, or two dudes dealing with each other, or two chicks dealing with each other, or whatever the case be, or maybe it's a small group dealing with a small group like that, where it's like a dude and two chicks, or two dudes and a chick, or whatever it is. And, they're basically doing like things where it's like, okay, cool, we're not gonna have to fucking, basically worry about blowing each other's heads off because we're all fucking cool here is what it is. But yeah, until you get that kind of established, rigmarole going and stuff like that, and are actually able to have a trust in people again in a post grid down world, you're definitely going to have stuff like that be a thing. Or you'd have people that, wouldn't be part of a group, whatever the case be, where they would just avoid everybody entirely. It's like, going back again to Book of Eli, where it's him seeing the people coming and, just sort of ducking down and hiding is what it is, dude. And sometimes that is going to be the best scenario, where it's like, yeah, you don't know if you can fight, 4, 5, 6 people, whatever it is. So it's like, yeah, you're better off to just, hide and hopefully not be seen, and then sort of scamper off when you got a chance is what it is then. And like I said, though, I think definitely there's going to be a time in the very near future, whether it be 6 months from now, whether it be a year from now, etc., where, we're starting to see this kind of shit go down, dude. And I think, even when I said the other day about, the whole thing with the diesel after the midterms here kicking up like crazy, if you have that shit go to, 8, 10, $12 a gallon, whatever it is, dude, even 6 or 7 for that matter, is going to make it, fucking so squeezing on people's paychecks and stuff like that. They're not going to be able to afford anything, is what it is, dude. I mean, hell, I was reading an article yesterday. Actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't an article. It was one of the things that popped up in my YouTube feed yesterday. It was a little video from some local affiliate where it was them talking to some store owner guy, and his quote was literally, "My employees can't pay for gas until I give them their paycheck." And if you have that already being a thing where it's literally like, sort of living paycheck to paycheck kind of thing, dude, like, holy fuck, dude. I think the pendulum's really about to break, honestly, at this point, dude. Like, I don't even think it's going to swing. I think it's just going to sort of start to do a swing and then just snap into a million pieces, dude, and just go flying everywhere across the board. And it's going to start brand new again, is what it's going to be then, dude. And I think you're going to see a lot of change after that, man, because it's going to be good, honest people now that are not going to have it anymore. They were like, no, this is fucking bullshit. Like, we didn't sign up for this fucking shit. You have government fucking us all over, is what it is, dude. And then again, it goes back to, something I've talked about in the past as well, dude. Where what's the best strategy for these fuckers in office, dude? And the powers that be at a higher level and stuff like that. It's the old divide and conquer. It's the fucking race bait and bullshit where it's like, oh, we know we can racially divide people, and oh, let's go ahead and make all these, minorities over here, whether it be the BLM types or whatever the case, be all pissed off at white people and stuff like that. And then you got fucking dumbass Biden and company being like, oh, but it's white supremacists that are the problem right now, and let's have all these agents go after these fucking people, when in reality, there's more agents now than they're actually able to find white hate guys. And yet, meanwhile, you got all this fucking black supremacist shit fucking fomenting over on the other side there. And all these other various things, it's not even just black supremacy, dude. It's like fucking all these people from like various South American countries, or not South America, yeah, South American countries, like your or not South America, Central American countries. Your El Salvadors, your Hondurans, your fucking Venezuelans, et cetera, there, that are all a bunch of anti-white racists as well, as what it is, dude. And so forth and so on. And then, of course, you got people that, whether it be some kind of fucking Cuban guy hating a black dude or whatever it is, dude, like all kinds of shit like that kind of thing is what it is as well, dude. And then you got obviously like Islam hating everybody, it seems like anymore. So yeah, I think it's definitely one of these things where it's like, for the most part, if we actually had real discussions between everybody here and we were able to actually have a real like sit down and fucking, bullshit or whatever the case be, you would have a lot of Americans, everyday Americans, people living paycheck to paycheck or whatever it is, dude, that would sit there and be like, okay, I'm sitting here having a conversation with all these people at this table or whatever, like all the people around here, we have like 95% of the stuff in common right now. That's, issues is what it is. Where can we get to that 5% that we disagree on? And, if nothing else, just set that aside for the time being and deal with a bigger threat, which is, again, government itself right now. And that's exactly what it is, dude. It's these government politicians that are fucking, and their cronies, etc., who are, fucking us all over. But yet so many people are so indoctrinated to the bullshit that they don't see that to be the case, is what it is. And unfortunately, that's what it is, dude. It's, you have that bigger picture stuff where you have these people who understand that, like, yeah, there's an entire voter base out there that's just a bunch of low IQ dipshits, is what it is, dude, that'll keep voting Democrat no matter what until they die. And they will basically prey upon that stuff and foment this hate and shit like that and allow it to continue to go on and go on and go on until you have snaps go on in this country, dude, whether it be, the 2020 fucking fentanyl Floyd riots, whether it be LA race riots in 92, whether it be, so forth and so on here and there, dude. I mean, it's happened over and over again. We've seen it many, many times, many, many decades now. Hell, you can go back to the fucking 60s when it became the civil rights movement, kind of rioting back then. Things that they actually had to declare back in the 60s as insurrection acts and stuff like that, dude. All the Detroit rioting, all the fucking, Baltimore riots back in those days as well, in like 68 is what it was. And it's like, yeah, dude, like, it's not that hard to figure out, like, when you have people, freaking the fuck out and doing all kinds of insanity and stuff like that. Yet the real problem is, again, it's so much just pure engineered chaos and anarchy and stuff like that, dude, where half the people don't give a shit about anything and they just want free shit, is what it is. That's where you're going to have that big break as well, as what it's going to be, dude, because you're going to have those fucking pariahs of society, try to pull that shit and post grid down. And it's not going to be good for them, dude, because they're going to be the first ones taken out, is what it's going to be. Because you're going to have people being like, no, you ain't taking shit from me, dude. And it's going to be like, oh, there's no law and order anymore? Okay, bang. And you're fucking gone, is what it is, dude. And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of people, sort of go full alpha, go full Negan, etc., dude, and become these kind of leaders of various communities of people and stuff like that. And they're so fucking brutal in their thinking and their logic and stuff like that, where they display this brutality ever so often because they have to maintain that leadership role, that all it does is basically lead to, fractures within those groups, is what it's going to be. Or it would be something where you're going to have people just sort of, again, knuckle under and be like, well, I don't want to die at the end of whatever the fuck the weapon this person has is what it is. So let me just go ahead and knuckle under them for the time being. And then, if nothing else, like, I'll go off on my own at some point in the fucking middle of the night kind of thing and just keep walking kind of thing is what it'll be, dude, to some other group then. But, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a situation like that kind of thing where you're going to have people basically become very, very ruthless in this coming resource wars in the future. And I think some are going to be a lot better than others. I think you're going to have some that are going to be very much more ruthless than others. And you're going to have some that are basically going to be someplace in the middle where it's like, maybe they'll have to show, hey, you're not going to fuck with them kind of thing sometimes here and there. But it's like, it's not going to be so much so where it's going to be just like pure insane brutality. And you're going to have basically just these fracturings. And I think, truthfully, when it all is said and done, like, you're going to see a lot of people not survive because of that stuff, dude, especially if we're talking about, like, water wars and stuff like that. Because, again, if there's only so much water to go around, like, by default, it's going to end up being something where it's going to be the stronger people are going to be tending to win more, is what it'll be, dude. And it'll be, old folks or young folks or whatever it's going to be, someplace in the middle there that aren't as strong or just, too old to fight or whatever it is, dude, where they're going to pass on then. And even going back to the resource thing, we talked about that a little bit last night when Corey was on here. And it was, or not even last night, it was, Friday night to Saturday morning there. We had Corey on, we were talking about, trucking stops. And it's like, what happens after like a day? What happens after a week? What happens after, a couple of weeks and stuff like that? And yeah, it's within a couple of days or whatever. You have oxygen supplies at fucking medical facilities and hospitals and stuff like that completely run out entirely, dude. So you're talking about anybody that's on, long-term oxygen and stuff like that because they're in a coma or whatever it is, dude, like they're just fucked then. Or so forth and so on, dude. If you got people having to have surgeries and stuff like that and need to be sedated and put in oxygen and shit like that, yeah, guess what? That surgery doesn't happen anymore. And now that patient probably is fucked because they're probably going to die from whatever it's going to be, dude, like a cancer kind of thing or whatever it'll be then, dude. Or God forbid, again, the old folks that are on, respirators and stuff like that. It's like, that goes back to that book 1 Second After and stuff like that, where you just have that first die off is what it'll be, where it'll be the people that need medications and, can't, breathe for themselves or do anything for themselves because they are in old folks' homes and stuff like that, or nursing homes and whatnot, and long-term care facilities and shit. And then, of course, it'll be, several months after that is when you have the actual psych drugs that people had, a couple months supply of that they've ended up having a ration that whole time. And now they're starting to go fucking schizo or whatever it is. And again, like, that's another thing right there, dude, is it's like, medication resource wars kind of thing where it's like, yeah, if you don't have anything, you're just fucked, man. And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of people just finally go nuts again during that second one. That'll be, 5, 6 months on then. And that's when you'll have, actually, it's not even 5, 6 months. It's like, I think 3 to 4 months actually is what it'll be then. And yeah, like 90 days, 120 days after the initial fall, then you're going to have another group of people that are just going to start going fucking psychotic, is what it'll be, dude. Because again, you thought fucking Johnny down the street or Betsy up the street or whatever it is were good people, good neighbors, all that shit like that, dude, until you find out, oh, young Johnny doesn't have his fucking schizo meds anymore, and fucking young Sally is all fucking manic depressive and doesn't have her mood stabilizers and shit like that, dude. And it's like, yeah, now you're just fucking dealing with these fucking people then, dude. So, I don't know. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better in this country. And I think, sadly, a lot of people aren't going to make it through. A lot of people aren't going to make it through. And that's why I'm kind of doing this shit right now for the whole. It's not even. It's basically a posterity stake at this point. I don't think there's any way to stop it from happening. It's just informing people of what it could look like right now, and basically this is how it's good to prepare for this kind of thing. Whether it be having extra food and water on hand, whether it be having extra ammo on hand, extra guns on hand, uh, all that kind of stuff, dude. Having backup location upon backup location, just in case your original location is compromised, you can make it to a backup location. If you can't make it to the first step backup location, this is why it's always good to have a second or third one and stuff like that. Or even something else, like you go to your backup location, find out it's compromised because somebody else already took it over or whatever, and it's like, yeah, then you just go to that secondary backup or thirdary backup, whatever it's going to be then. And so hopefully eventually it'll be something where you can actually settle someplace and be in a position where you'd be able to not have to deal with the insanity for a while, maybe, of just everybody is going to be then. Because I think, honestly, the best thing to do right now is, first of all, get out of major cities in this country. Start isolating the rural areas if you can. I'm not saying everybody should do this. I'm saying the people that aren't fucking hardcore leftist douchebags should do this, honestly. Anybody that votes anything not fucking left at this point, dude, whether it be centrist or fucking right wing, whatever it is, dude, like, these are the people that need to find their ways out to the rural areas that they're already there at this point, and then figure stuff out from there is what it'll be, dude. If that means it completely, moving yourself from one state to another state, that's the best thing to happen right now, honestly, dude. And I think right now it's people that just need to wake up and realize that, dude, that, like, eventually there will be a time going forward where, money is going to be worthless, and very much you're going to see a different time period in history in the near future. Like I said, could be a couple years down the road, could be 4 or 5 years down the road, where it's going to be skill sets that are going to be king in a lot of that stuff, dude. If you can sit there and actually, know how to build a forge and stuff like that, and be able to shape metal and stuff, whether it be in the knives or anything else for that matter, you know, spears for weapons of some kind, or fucking even just, making parts and stuff like that to replace like wheel bearings and shit, dude. Or even like wheel wells for that matter and stuff, dude. Because again, if it is like EMP kind of deal, cars ain't really going to work anymore anyway, except for a few here and there. And it's like, yeah, you might have to have something where you're, pulling shit in a wagon again or whatever. And if that be the case, then it's much better off to have that kind of thing ready to go than have, whatever is what it is, and have that dude or that chick that has the skill set to, manufacture X, Y, and Z things that you would need for, wheels and shit. And then go from there is what it is. And actually what's interesting is there was a old TV series that I believe it was TNT did probably about 10, 15 years ago now. It was at least 10 years ago. I think it might have been closer to 15 years now. I'm thinking about it because it was like 2007, 8, someplace in there. And I can't remember what the name of it was offhand, but it was basically shot in multiple parts, and it told the story of this dude's entire family lineage and stuff like that. It had a whole bunch of actors that we know now, like Skeet Ulrich was in it for a little bit, and a few other folks along those lines. And it was basically from the perspective of this one dude's family that was a bunch of like white settlers and stuff like that, and then it was a bunch of Native American folks on the other side is what it was then. And it was you basically showed the people like, oh, this is where the name Wheeler comes from. It was because these people that used to make fucking wheels for wagons and shit like that, dude. And they were wheelwrights, is what it was then. And I think that would be the thing again now. It would be something like that, and post grid down shit where you'd have 2, 3 people being some dude's apprentice, at some forge or whatever it is, dude. And that dude or that chick, whatever it is, that knows that forging skills and shit would be able to actually teach these people something, and then they would be able to go on, 5, 10 years down the road or whatever, teaching the next generation after them is what it is, and so forth and so on. And you would actually have the original dude or chick who would actually know what the fuck they're doing be very invaluable in grid down and stuff like that. Because again, if you know how to work a forge and stuff like that, dude, you can make a lot of different things, and you can pretty much make the majority of shit you would need there. Like I said earlier, not just blades, it would be anything really, dude. Any kind of piece of metal really is what it would be that would be needed. Could be replaced using, just a forge is what it is then. And the thing of that is like, that's a good skill set to have. Any kind of medical background would be another one. If you're an EMT or a nurse or whatever the case be, a doctor or something like that, dude. Like, you're going to be invaluable on that one because you would become a town physician and stuff like that after the fall and shit, most likely. It'd be like the old Little House on the Prairie series where it'd be, oh, let's call up Doc, whatever the guy's name was in that show. And it was, people were literally paying that guy in fucking apples and shit like that, dude, to take care of their kids for them. And like different meals and shit like that as well. So, and I think you do a lot of barter and trade stuff like that as well, dude, where it's like, yeah, we'll keep you fed, Doc. Like, just make sure you, treat our kids and stuff like that. And if there's some kind of an illness, like, let us know what it is kind of thing then. And then we could find you the, proper meds or whatever the case be. Or actually, that's another thing too, by the way. Medicine. How am I trying to say this now? Yeah, it would be how to make various medicines and stuff like that, dude. Like what kind of plants are edible and can make like different kinds of medications and stuff like that. Because that would be another thing that would be very invaluable after the fall. Would be people that actually know how to identify various plants and stuff like that, and also which ones are invaluable to make medicine out of them, dude. Because people always think, oh yeah, I just take a pill for everything now. It's like, yeah, dude, post grid down, no big pharma, etc., dude. Like, unless you're finding like warehouses of shit that's already made and stuff, dude, like, nah, you're gonna have to rely upon people's knowledge of, okay, you can use this thing for headaches and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and take a little bowl grinder thing. I forget what that's called off here right now. But yeah, it's like, let's go ahead and just grind down this fucking leaf or whatever into its base components and shit. And it's like, okay, we just take this paste now and we put that on things, and it would again be kind of like the old school, Native American fucking shamans and shit like that, dude, where you'd have people be like modern day medicine man and stuff like that, or modern day medicine woman for that matter. And it would be like, oh yeah, just pack the wound with this kind of thing or whatever, and it would heal over then. And it's basically just a whole bunch of plants and shit is what it is, dude, that people knew about back then. And I think that would be the exact thing right now, honestly. You'd have people that have that kind of skill set would be then. So yeah, I definitely think in these, future resource wars that we're looking at right now, there's going to be definite um, high market value for people that actually have the ability, knowledge, and know how of how to do certain things and certain tasks and shit, versus people that are just like everyday, like, okay, what'd you do before the fall? Oh, I was some Instagram influencer. Oh, I was some fucking YouTuber or whatever the case be. Oh, I was fucking da 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 da, and fucking I had a million dudes watching my OnlyFans and giving me money for feet pics and shit like that. It's like, okay, ditch diggers 1, 2, and 3, get your asses over to the line and start digging the fucking ditch, bitches. Like, seriously, that's what's gonna happen in those kind of grid downs, dude. It's gonna be these people that have no fucking skill sets at all that are gonna be the mass fucking labor market is what it'll be, dude. It's like, no, you're just gonna be general labor doing whatever, dude. Or it's like, okay, we're gonna put you over here to be the guy that literally fucking stokes the accordion thing to keep the fucking forge going is what it is for the next hour or two. Like, don't stop stoking it, bitch, kind of thing. And it would literally be the person that just stokes a fucking accordion thing for a forge, dude. And yet, meanwhile, then, eventually maybe they would actually, learn some stuff then in that whole thing, and maybe they would become the next apprentice in the, various blacksmithing kind of shit then. So, yeah. I think there's definitely going to be a learning curve in the grid down. I think there's definitely going to be people that are going to make it because of the fact that they're able to go out there and learn things at a very rapid pace. And there's going to be other people that are going to be like, no, you're just a fucking liability to this group. Fuck you, dude. Like, they just walk them off into wherever then at some point. And it's like, just look at the flowers, Mitchie, or something like that kind of bullshit, dude. So, anyway, I don't know, man. Like I said, though, I think we're definitely heading towards bad times in this country. And I think the faster we get to where we're going right now, dude, the better off for some of us. Because, again, I think a lot of us right now, we're young enough. We would rather have the ability to fight in our time period right now and have this shit go down where we ourselves are still young enough to fight than have it go down in our kids or our grandkids or our nieces or nephews or fucking, grand nieces and nephews timelines and stuff like that, dude. Because God forbid, you know, this shit doesn't happen for another 10, 15 years and I'm even more broken then. And then by that time, my, niece is, over the age of 18 and stuff like that. My nephew's in his early 20s and shit then. And it's like, yeah, dude, like, at this point, honestly, I'd like much rather have it happen like now or pretty close to now, next 6 months, a year, whatever it is, dude. Whereas I can actually be able to fight in this whole thing. Maybe not for a long time, but maybe actually just, as long as it would take kind of thing. And if it's like, yeah, if I can go for 30 days or 60 days or a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, I'm going to fight to my dying day is what it is, man. And I think many others would say that same thing too as well. But the problem is, it's like, again, why don't we just fucking, do what needs to be done at this point? And it's like, outside of balkanization, I definitely think we're heading towards another kind of revolution or revolt in this country, dude. Because I think so many people are just fed up with it at this point, whether it be the Democrat Party in a nutshell or, just all the establishment as a whole. And that's where I'm at right now, dude. I hate everybody at this point, this establishment, across the fucking board. I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican or both for that matter, dude. It's like, yeah, when you're doing a bunch of shit to fuck us all over and just lining your own damn pockets at the same time, like, fuck all y'all, dude. You're all gone. Get the fuck out now. Auto DQs out of office, every single one of them. Fuck them. Kick them all out, dude. Start fucking fresh is what it is. And I think, truthfully, that's where my libertarian side comes in because my whole thing is it's like, we're not going to start fresh with like, 400 or 500 new dipshits is what it is. It's like, no, we're going to start fresh and down that fucking number to like half or a quarter of that, basically. So, anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for the day, though. I'm getting very tired for about the last 10 minutes, so I'm sort of sound like I might be rambling and shit because I'm like having real trouble keeping my eyes open because it is almost 6 a.m. and yeah, I just need to get some sleep right now. I'll be back again at some point in the future for something this coming week. I'm not sure what, probably another grandstand on something or other. And then yeah, come this coming Friday, we're gonna do the 2A cast as an open forum podcast and stuff like that and panel discussion. So anybody that wants to come on there and shoot the shit or whatever the case be, we'll probably most likely just be keeping it to like Second Amendment issues of the day and maybe a couple First Amendment stories and stuff like that, dude. I'm gonna try to go through some things and see if I can find some actual stories to talk about based on that kind of stuff. I'm sure there'll always be a couple here and there, if something else I can just go to bearing arms on any given day, and they'll have a bunch of stories for that day or that week up. Is what it is, dude. So, not granted, not all of them are worth talking about, but there's enough on there that are, decent that need to be discussed, and other people are not discussing them, so I might as well do it myself. Is what it is then. And the same thing with Breitbart. A lot of the cases, like there's a lot of times where some of that stuff will be looked over by a lot of people. I'll tend to look at them because it seems like they have any more with midterms coming up, stuff like that. They seem to have a lot of exclusive content on there, dude. There was one I saw on there where they were talking to Lee Zeldin the other day, and I'm just like, man, it would be so nice to see that guy flip New York governor's race red, and it seems like it's almost swinging that way right now. And again, if that would happen, and then shockingly out of nowhere, the Republican challenger to Newsom's ass actually is able to unseat his ass as a sitting governor right now and stuff like that, dude. Like, holy fuck, man. Like, that would be the red tsunami kind of shit I was talking about then. But other than that, if it doesn't happen in either one of those states, like, it would just be a red wave then, I think. But yeah, truthfully speaking, if either one of those people or both were able to flip that, governorships red, and then of course we got that chick in Oregon being able to flip that place red, and hopefully somebody will finally deal with Jay Inslee's ass one of these days and kick him out of office. Then I think he's actually, I can't remember when he's up for re-election now. I think maybe it was last year was when he got reelected to a second term or something. So he would be termed out no matter what, is what it is. And hopefully somebody will, come along and be a good person then in that state, or multiple good people for that matter, and just be able to deal with his fucking idiocy, is what it is then. So anyway, like I said, that's pretty much where we're at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll be back in, like I said, a couple of days probably with some more 2A stuff, most likely another grandstand and stuff like that. We'll be doing. Well, I'm gonna try to sit here and do the wargaming thing one of these days for the Ohio General Assembly for the upcoming midterms as well, because I want to get that done before midterms actually happen, which again are fastly approaching in a couple weeks now. And my thinking is, it's like, yeah, I want to get that shit done and start doing an actual breakdown then of the whole General Assembly as it stands right now, and how we could potentially pick up a couple seats here, and then you'd have like basically a uni party in the state of Ohio, because you'd have exactly 66 Republicans that could vote in lockstep with each other, and if they did, they could kick every single Democrat out of our state house right now, which most should be out of there anyway, because they're all corrupt as fuck is what it is. I'm not saying the Republican Party here is any better, actually. There's a lot of them people that should go down with Householder in the bribery scandal for HB6 last General Assembly is what it was, dude. Whether it be DeWine and Husted themselves, whether it be fucking, Secretary of State Frank LaRose had his fucking hands tied in that shit, dude. You got, like, I would say about at least a third, if not more, of the Republican Party here needs to go because they were all tied to it. Same thing with pretty much every Democrat in office. Also had ties to that shit. And it's like, yeah, fuck all y'all, dude. Like, y'all need to be tossed out in jail right now. And we just start fresh from there is what it is, with brand new candidates and shit. So, anyway, I feel like the same things that happen right now federally, honestly, dude. It's like, yeah, we know all these motherfuckers, did a bunch of cheaty face shit to get into office there. Like, time to fucking yank them out and toss them out of the fucking races, dude, entirely. And we just change the shit up then is what it is. So, anyway, like I said, hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.